Hey guys, and welcome to another reading vlog. So I finished The Right Swipe and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it. The Right Swipe is about a retired football thingy and guy and a female that runs a dating website, and they, like in the past, hooked up through this dating website for one night, and then he ghosted her, and she is like never forgotten it, held against him. When they meet at a event for all dating websites, like a convention, they have to sit on a panel together, and that kind of sparks not a relationship, but like a partnership, I guess. She's trying to buy his friend's dating website company thingy. And so they work together on a campaign for this other website, and it was really sweet. I really liked our main male character, Samson. He was such a soft boy. It was so cute. He really was okay with showing his feelings, and he was okay with apologizing, and he was just so soft and so sweet, and just it was so nice. And I related to Ree so hard, some of the things that she was going through, and her personality, and feeling like she always had to be strong and she always had to be the best because she was at a disadvantage from the get-go. Obviously I don't deal with that racially. Obviously I'm white, so I don't deal with that, but being a woman and some of her past experiences I relate to, and so it was so good. I really liked it. I didn't like the sports aspect. So the male character retired because of he didn't like the way the injuries were handled in the NFL, and so he retired. And it his whole character arc has to do with that, and trying to help the, I guess, stigma against health in the football world or whatever. And I don't really care about sports, and they actually really bore me. So that was kind of a downside. But overall it was super cute, super sweet. I really liked their relationship. I thought it was so sweet, and so yeah, I really liked it. But what? Hello? But I had to go to work this morning to do some bookkeeping stuff, but I am back home now. I have been playing a little bit of video games, and I'll probably play some more, but my Scribd maybe puts a limit on how many audiobooks you can listen to every month, which is whack. But my cycle came back up, so I have a plethora of audiobooks to listen to. So I am not quite sure what I'm gonna listen to next, but I'm definitely gonna listen to an audiobook while I am playing my video game. But I will update y'all if anything exciting happens. It is Wednesday, and I thought I was doing so well with this reading vlog. For some reason in my head I was like, yes, I have filmed every day, and I didn't. I completely missed yesterday, which is fine because but I haven't finished. I finished Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. My cat is about to jump on my desk, so if my camera falls over, that's because of her. But I finished Every Heart a Doorway. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars, and I didn't like it. It was boring. Nothing happened. The idea was cool, but I didn't like it. I read my 100 pages of Scythe, so I am very excited to read it, to talk about it and with my book club, and to get further in because the idea is so interesting. So basically humanity has overcome war and poverty and starvation and even death. So they have gotten to a point where everybody can basically live forever. But as population control, they have these people called scythes that are trained to basically be reapers, and they kill based on statistics. So if you went on a plane, right? And according to statistics in the scythe world, or whatever they call it, there's like a 1 in every 100 people die in plane crashes. That's not a genuine statistic, obviously, but then they would kill people based off that statistic. And our two main characters are basically training to be scythes, and it is so freaking interesting. I love the concept. There's like this infinite amount of knowledge that basically is like a supercomputer, and anything you need to know is like built into this computer. And so education is basically obsolete, and it's very, very fascinating. And yeah, I'm really excited to get further in. I am also I would say about 25% into Bromance Book Club, which is about a guy who his family is basically falling apart, and he wants to save it. After he finds out that his wife has been faking orgasms in bed, they end up separating, and he doesn't want their marriage to fall apart. They have 2 kids, he loves her, all of that. And so he joins a book club with other politicians and sports. He's like a baseball player or whatever. And so he joins this book club of men that basically read romance novels to get an understanding of what women want, and it's really good. I'm not quite sure why. Sorry, there's a plane going over my house and my windows are open, but I'm not quite sure what's taking me so long to read it. I usually devour romance novels, but I don't know. I don't like the wife, Thea, and I kind of wish we didn't have her point of view. She is very like standoffish, and she acts as if everything that's going on is all his fault and has nothing to do with her. But really, she hasn't been communicating with him. They've only been married, I think, 3 or 4 years, and he's been away at the major leagues for most of it. And I know that that's hard, but if you're not communicating with your spouse, how can you expect them to know the things that are wrong with you? You know, you can't expect them to just instinctively know that you are not feeling great in the relationship, or that you don't like the women that you hang out with, or whatever. And so it's incredibly irritating that she acts as if everything's his fault and he's the only one kind of making an effort. And I don't know, I kind of wish that her point of view wasn't included, which is something that I generally like in my romance books, but I'm not feeling it. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's good, it's sweet, and I really like that we're seeing our main male character kind of think about what he's saying and think about what he's doing and trying to better himself. But I don't like that the female is not also doing the same thing. Like, it seems like she's just completely done with their marriage after whatever, and it's really bothering me. And as someone that comes from a broken family, my parents divorced, were separated on and off my whole life, and then they eventually divorced. But a lot of people don't get the second chance. Like, some spouses' marriages, they break up because the spouse just doesn't give a crap and they don't care about trying. And I think it's incredibly irritating for me, as someone that has a background, to read about someone that's just so blind to the fact that their spouse is trying and that their spouse wants to be with them and wants to change and wants to make the relationship better. It's really irritating for me, and I don't know. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I also put up a poll on my Twitter asking my followers what nostalgia book they think that I should pick up. It has about 19 more hours, but it looks like Twilight is going to win. So we will see what nostalgia book I have to pick up. The options were Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, Twilight, and Vampire Academy. And afterwards, I remembered that we're actually doing Harry Potter for my book club, so I'm kind of hoping that one doesn't win, because we're gonna be reading the series as a new reader for my co-creator and as a reread for me. And I kind of hope that that one doesn't win, but I also don't want Twilight to win. I'm okay with Vampire Academy or Percy Jackson, but I kind of knew Twilight was gonna win because that's just one of those like guilty pleasure books that everyone just wants to hear people complain about. But yeah, so I'm going to, I don't know, I'm kind of feeling a fantasy book. So I'm gonna look through my TBR and see what books are more fantasy-ish that I would be interested in picking up. I did order Chain of Gold. That should be here Friday, so I'll probably start that this weekend. I'm thinking I might do a 24-hour readathon to read it, maybe Saturday, and then I will do like I did last time, where I wrap this reading vlog up on Friday and then do a dedicated 24-hour readathon on Saturday. But we'll see what happens. I don't know. Last time didn't go too well, but we will see. And then, yeah, I'm just rambling at this point, but I will update you guys if I get any further into a book or start a new one. I finished the Bromance Book Club. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And the reason I did that was for what I mentioned in my last clip about Thea. I got a little bit of a redemption arc about 90% of the way through for her character, but it was not enough for me to redeem the whole book. And honestly, it's drained me so much emotionally that I don't feel like reading romance anytime soon. So don't know what I'm gonna pick up. I have a couple fantasy, I have some mystery that I could pick up. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna watch a couple videos and then I am going to decide what I want to do. Thursday, and I'm going a little stir crazy sitting around the house. I've done pretty much everything that I need to do, like ordering, so I have like my groceries and stuff that come to my house, but I haven't left the house. I left the house Monday, went to work for like an hour, And then before that, I was gone for like an hour. But yeah, I mean, I have to go pick up some stuff from my local pet store later, because they do like curbside, so you don't actually have to go into the store. Gotham, I know, baby. So you don't actually have to go into the store. But yeah, I mean, as you saw, cleaning my whole house. Hope you like my house tour. And I had my breakfast. I think I'm gonna play some video games. And yeah, I don't know, dude. I'm like, hey, so I haven't really read all that much. I read a couple pages of Starless Sea, but some cool stuff came in the mail. Ah! I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have this in my hands. I wasn't sure if I was just gonna have to suffer through and listen to the audio and not be able to hold this in my hands, but I have it. I'm so excited. Also, sticky notes, because I want to start annotating my books. And yeah. Halfway through Starless Sea, and just like the Diviners, I am pissed at past me for putting this off for so long, because I am just totally enthralled. Like, I haven't had really anything to say because I'm just so into the story that I'm just like, don't have any updates for y'all, don't have any snarky things to say. It's really good. All right, so I am on page 294 of Starless Sea. And I am loving it, but I know that this is dubbed a fantasy romance, and I'm not happy about the romance, and I don't say that often, but we have basically almost gone 300 pages without the love interest in the story. Like, they've not really been involved this whole time. And now they're like interested in each other, and I think it's gonna be like an insta-love thing, and I'm not here for it, because I would rather our main character just not have anyone than have insta-love, if that makes sense. Like, the story is already fantastic without it, and it's not needed. So I don't want it to be bogged down with that, you know? It is 12:30 and on Friday, and I just finished Starless Sea, and holy shit, it was so freaking good. Like, I'm planning on doing a reread of Night Circus, but I think I might like it more than Night Circus. I didn't even think that was possible. It was so freaking good. But I will give you guys my full thoughts tomorrow when I'm like, I want to just sit here and just absorb it and think about it, and just, oh, it was so good. All right, it is Saturday, and like I said on my last clip, I finished Starless Sea last night, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. I loved Night Circus, and all of the reasons that I loved Night Circus, I loved the Starless Sea. It was so atmospheric and so beautiful, and seeing all of the pieces of the story fall into place was just so gorgeous. And you saw things that Erin Morgenstern wrote in the beginning of the book come into play at the end, and all of these stories kind of just weaved themselves into each other, and they started to make sense, and it was just so good. I think one of the complaints about this book is that the characters are pretty one-dimensional, and I get that, but I think that was intentional. One of the overarching themes within this story is that fate has already crafted this world, has already crafted the future, and you are just kind of a bystander in that, or our characters are just bystanders. And so having the one-dimensional characters didn't really feel like a bad thing because it made sense. Whatever they would have decided for themselves or how they might have been feeling was kind of irrelevant because their path was already set for them. I will say that the ending was still a little confusing. I think a lot of the ideas that were introduced weren't really cleared up. I'm not going to get too much into it because if you haven't read it, then the ending is something that you should discover yourself. But overall, I loved it a lot, and I didn't want to leave the world, and I am so excited for her next book because she just is so, her mind is just so crazy and so gorgeous and so beautiful, and I love it. But yeah, so I finished that. I was going to end the vlog on Friday and then do a 24-hour readathon for Chain of Gold, but I was so invested into Starless Sea that I was just kind of I was a little hungover. I didn't really want to leave the world. I didn't want to get into another world and kind of invest my time in that. I knew that I wouldn't be giving my 100%. So I decided to do that for maybe next week, maybe next weekend I'll do the 24-hour readathon. But for now, I am just going to read some other books on my TBR. So what I have left to read for the month is If We Were Villains, The Flat Share, The Hate You Give, Throne of Glass, Vicious, The Girl Who Drank the Moon, Sawkill Girls, and Chain of Gold. But I didn't really want to read any of those, and actually I wanted to read The Sundown Motel. So I started it just a little while ago. I am only about 30 pages in. The Sundown Motel is about a mysterious motel in the middle of New York that, in a small town in New York, that people have been disappearing from, and our main character's aunt disappeared from this motel 20 years prior, and so she has moved to this town to discover what's going on. This town has a lot of secrets and a lot of mystery, and I have heard a lot of people saying they want to read it, but I haven't heard a bunch afterwards. It's a pretty short book. It's only about 330 pages, so I'm hoping to get through it today and then maybe start the Flat Share. I was hoping to get an audiobook for the Flat Share because I have heard concerns that it is pretty slow, not slow, but it's pretty it's not as fluffy as I think it was advertised to be. So, but I wasn't able to find an audiobook available to me right now. So I think I'm just going to have to physically read it, which is fine. That's fine. But I'm kind of teetering between the Flat Share or Sawkill Girls. I also started Sawkill Girls, and it's just kind of boring at this point. I'm not very far in, maybe 10% of the way in, but it's just kind of meh. But we'll see what happens. For right now, I'm gonna sit back and I'm going to read The Sundown Motel, and I will update y'all if anything crazy happens. This town may be haunted and there may be some sketchy stuff going on, but at least they are progressive. There's a female on their police task force, and the main character, I guess the aunt or whatever in the past, was like, I've never seen a policewoman before, so we love that. Okay, so a problem that I have in books is that I'm terrible at remembering names. So like one of the residents or one of the people staying in the hotel signed up under 2 different names. The one that I said the name was probably going to be important, but the second name that he signed up as, like, I feel like I've seen that name before and I should recognize it and I should know something about it, but I don't recognize it, which is unfortunate. Okay, so we are 80 pages in and they've introduced someone as like possibly a love interest or maybe just an ally. I don't trust it. Okay, so we're at the part in the book where both girls are investigating the hotel simultaneously, and we are seeing Viv, the aunt, kind of doing her own investigation into what she's seeing at the hotel back in the 80s, and she has made a run-in with like several people in the town, and all of them act very strange about her knowing stuff. And like she is talking to a resident of the town and she tells her that she like asks, do you know, and then gives her the name of the girl that died in the hotel or whatever. And girl's like, yeah, but why do you know? And it's like everyone's acting very oddly in both the aunt's time and in present day with our other main character, Carly. So Carly and then her aunt Viv. I keep calling her Vivi, it's Viv. Yeah, they were just all acting very weird. So I am 193 pages in and I am really, really liking this. I think it is beautifully written. I think the use of the dual timeline is just brilliant and it's written incredibly well. So it is about 9:30 now, so I'm hoping to finish this before I go to sleep. Hey guys, it is now Sunday, which means it is the end of another reading vlog and time for me to wrap up what I read for the week. Last time we talked, I had just finished The Sundown Motel, and I said that I was going to try to start another book, which I did. I read 20% of Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand. I ended up DNFing it at the 20% mark, which is about 100 or so pages in, because it was just quite frankly boring. And I had heard that the vibes are very similar to Wilder Girls by Rory Power, and while that was true, I did not like Wilder Girls, so it's not shocking that I did not like Sawkill Girls. It was very boring, nothing happened, and yeah, I was just not feeling it. Let's talk about the books that I did finish this week. So the first book that I read this week was The Right Swipe by Alicia Ray. This is the romance between a retired pro NFL player and a woman who owns a dating website. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the soft boy main male character. I think that I really resonated with our heroine, and my one complaint was that I am not a sports fan, so the inclusion of football was kind of a miss for me. Then I listened to the audiobook of Every Heart a Doorway. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. This is sort of like an after Portal fantasy about what happens to kids that go to other magical realms and what happens when they come back. I heard rave reviews about this. It is incredibly short. The audiobook was only about 4 hours. It was mega boring and nothing happened. I liked some of like the darker elements, because when you hear that, you sort of think that it's just gonna be happy-go-lucky, and it wasn't, but nothing really happened for the majority of the book. Next, I read The Bromance Book Club by Alyssa K. Adams, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I thought that the premise of this book was good. I thought that the intention of it was sound. I liked seeing the change of our male main character from not seeing the true nature of his marriage to really accepting that there were things about himself that he had to change. I did not like our female main character because I come from a family of divorced parents, and I have seen firsthand what it is like to fight for a relationship that one spouse does not care about. And I did not like that the female main character resisted him at every turn. She resisted his attempts at change, and she flat out refused to accept that anything that was wrong with the relationship had also to do with her. She blamed him for everything, and I did not like it. Her kind of horrible behavior was also perpetuated by her sister, who I felt was only written to be a bad, annoying person. So overall, I liked the idea. I think it was a sweet intention, but there were just some problems with the characters that I could not get over. And I have heard great things about this, so maybe if you read it and you don't have such an adverse reaction like I did, you would enjoy it. Next, I listened to The Poet X, the audiobook of The Poet X, which is about a young female who is coming to terms with her body, men's reaction to her, and spirituality and all of that. And she kind of does that through slam poetry. And I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I listened to the audiobook, and I really think that that was a great choice because it's all written in verse. And I don't know if I would have read it physically, if it would have been as impactful. The audiobook is narrated by Emily Acevedo, who is the writer. And I think that it was just brilliantly done, and it was so impactful, and every sentence and every word used was so intentional. And there were some lines where she would read it and you would just it would take your breath away. It was so good, and it was just so good. So next I read the first volume of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer graphic novel series. I didn't rate this or really anything, I just read it. It's only about 30 pages, and it's the introduction of Buffy and her mentor and then her 2 friends. And it was nothing, it was pretty insubstantial. So I will have to read more into it. I really enjoyed the TV show, and I wanted to give the graphic novels a shot, so I did. Next, I read The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I started this book in February when it was released, and it took me forever to finish it. Honestly, I read the first 80 pages and then I set it down for a really long time, and then I finally picked it up, and once I picked it up and started actually reading it, I was just so entranced the whole time. I read the entirety of the book in basically one day, and I just loved it so much. Erin Morgenstern has this fantastic way of writing that is just so lyrical and so beautiful and enchanting that you can just feel the world around you. You can picture it in your head, and it's just, her writing is gorgeous. I read her debut novel, The Night Circus, and I think I still like The Night Circus a little more. The Starless Sea was gorgeous, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, obviously, but there was a lot of unanswered questions at the end, and a lot of the complaints that people were having was that the characters were very one-dimensional, there wasn't really any character growth, and while I think that was mostly intentional because the idea of the book is that fate kind of determines your life, and fate already has everything planned out, and so the characters' intentions or the characters' feelings were sort of irrelevant to the story. There were some choices made throughout the book that kind of negated that sort of theme. Even though I loved it and I was enthralled the whole time, I didn't like that we didn't really get the full story. It was just so, I couldn't have written it any better, so I don't think that I can rate it, you know, badly under 5, because it was really, really good. And it sort of left you with this feeling of like a hangover, like you were just stuck in this world, and it was perfect. Well, not perfect. It has some bad things, but even the bad things, I'm like, well, you know, it's okay enough for me to give it 5. Like, it's okay that it was sort of unanswered at the end. And the last book that I finished for this month is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. It is a murder mystery with paranormal elements to it. It follows a dual timeline. The main character's aunt in the 80s, and then our main character now in present day, 2017. And her aunt mysteriously disappeared in the 80s, and she, from the Sundown Motel where she was working night shifts, and her niece comes years later and tries to figure out what happened. I read this basically in one sitting. I read it in one day, and I was enthralled. There was no point in this book where I felt like there was a lag. There was always something interesting going on. The plot twists were not great. They weren't anything revolutionary or mind-blowing, but I loved the usage of dual timelines. When the aunt was figuring out the mysteries going on with this hotel, her niece was figuring out them at the same time. So you were reading continuations of this timeline from different points of view in different times, and looking at the parallels between the aunt and the life that her niece is kind of making herself live. And it was just gorgeous. And the aunt is kind of slowly descending into a depression because she is so enthralled with these murders that she is not eating, she's not sleeping, and so you kind of are questioning, like, is she really crazy? Is this really what's going on? And it was so well written, and I really liked it. Like I said, it wasn't anything mind-blowing, but it was really good. And then, of course, I DNF'd Saw Kill Girls, like I said in the beginning. And that is what I read all of this week. So that is the conclusion of this reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I have some videos left to edit for this week in addition to this vlog, so I probably won't do much reading, but if I do, I will include it in my next vlog, so look out for that. Comment anything you want down below. If you read these books and you really like them, let me know. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you.